They keep trying to...
Avowed! I actually really wanted to discuss this because here's one thing I did not know. Avowed is actually free on the Xbox Game Pass. I was fully unaware about this. Whoops! Knocked everything over on my desk. We just finished the Spyro trilogy, so I'm gonna tell you what we're gonna do. This Monday, because this game has been getting nothing. Like literally every games journalist on the media is basically saying this game is the greatest game that has ever existed and will ever exist ever. Literally everybody else except the journalists are saying this game is absolute garbage and trash and is horrendous. So, being the good monkey that I am, and also the fact that, you know, I'm already freaking paying $15 freaking a month for this freaking thing, I'm gonna go ahead and install this for Monday. We're gonna be playing Avowed for ourselves and seeing just how good or bad this game is for ourselves. However, this is less into the regards of Avowed as a game or a review, and I'm assuming, seemingly, about this, like, weird internet, like, I wouldn't say discussion, but debate between whether this game is either the greatest thing in the universe or the most freaking nonsensical thing ever. There's never an in-between, seemingly, for any freaking thing. And, frankly, Legendary Drops, you know, typically tends to have, pretty solid opinions on these sorts of topics. So I kind of want to see what he has to say about it. Play.
They keep trying to trick us into believing something is popular, so then we go out and buy it. I'm getting so sick and tired of watching both game developers and games media gaslighting the audience and themselves rather than just calling things out for what they are. You need to grow.
The worst part about it is, too, sorry, bad face. Worst part about it, too, is the fact that, it's done so blatantly. It's like they really think we're just that stupid. You know what I mean? It's just like, wow, you really hold that low of an opinion of us, don't you? You really think we that freaking stupid, huh? Okay, alright.
Signal flare when there's an issue, but they want to keep handing out consolation prizes, and then they wonder why studios close down. How do you not recognize that you are exacerbating this issue? Avowed is one of the biggest copes I have ever seen. Game developers and journalists self-congratulating when the numbers and the player sentiment are telling a completely different story. It doesn't make any sense to me. I'm struggling to tell the difference between article and advertisement this week. It's like they want to wish success into existence. That doesn't work. I'm getting Dragon Age the Veilguard deja vu all over again. Look, I don't think that Avowed is an objectively bad game. I've played it. We're going to end up talking about that, but it's just a fine game. It's an okay game, but okay isn't acceptable from a studio as storied, experienced, or as prestigious as Obsidian. We should expect more from them. They should expect more from themselves. But the funny thing is that they don't. The industry doesn't want you to expect more. These studios don't want you to expect more. And this studio specifically doesn't expect more from themselves. This is a growing issue in the games industry. It's poisoning the culture of some of these studios because they're not just accepting mediocrity. They're aiming for it. Not my words, theirs. But before we get into that, a word from today's sponsor, Exit.
And before he gets into his sponsor, I absolutely agree. It almost feels like the issue now, the biggest issue I would say nowadays is the fact that it feels as though an external party has saw the opportunity in the gaming industry to push a political agenda and inserted themselves into it all. And now, because they're more focused on politics, or because they're more focused on this other nonsense, seemingly the games are lowering and lowering and lowering in quality across the board. And it's like they just want to show up, put their thoughts and opinions, have everybody listen to them and follow their freaking beliefs, but also are too damn lazy to just, make good content. Like, you can't even be bothered to make the good content. You just want to go on in there, barely make a passing game and then push your agenda? Like what the hell's wrong? Like, what is this? At least make the game good.
Lag. You know what's worse than getting outplayed? Losing because of lag. Nothing kills a match faster than high ping, packet loss, and random disconnects. That's where exit lag comes in. Exit lag optimizes your connection with AI route optimization, a dynamic stabilizer, and a diagnostic center, ensuring that you get the best connection to over 2,000 games worldwide. It works by finding the fastest, most stable route to game servers, reducing ping and eliminating stuttering so you can focus on actually playing the game instead of fighting your internet. Setting it up is easy. Just download Exit Lag, create an account.
I feel like shouldn't video games themselves be using this?
Pick your game, and activate the best route with a single click. I tested it myself, and before using Exit Lag, my ping was all over the place. After turning it on, stable, smooth, and no more lag spikes. Right now, you can get 50% off an annual plan, so there's no reason to deal with bad connections ever again. And they also offer squad plans, letting you and up to 4 friends optimize your connections together so the entire team can stay lag-free. Get a 3-day free
How is this not, like, just baked into every game?
trial using the link or the QR code on screen and experience lag-free gaming yourself. Play with Exit Lag on. Thank you to Exit Lag for sponsoring this video. Avowed has to be one of the strangest launches I've seen in years, because when it was first announced, the hype was undeniable. It was positioned as Obsidian's answer to Skyrim.
I genuinely haven't heard a single thing about this game.
At least by the fans.
I literally only heard people people saying that it's super amazing, that it beat Elden Ring or something, or some other. They said that they beat some other game, and I'm like, what the hell, did they? And then I go and check, and it turns out that it's not even true that they beat the other game, and I'm like, oh, well, that's a bad first impression. And now I'm finding out about it, and it looks like
a
Swords
return
and
to
Magic, which is
first-person
like pretty much in my
RPGs from a
wheelhouse,
studio
you know?
that's known for one of the best in the genre. But as the release date crept
By the way,
closer, something
Monke!
strange happened.
Monke,
The buzz
no!
just vanished. Nobody seemed to care
I was
about
about
the
to
game
say something,
anymore.
and then Monkey exploded. What the hell? Well, it wasn't a monkey, right? It's a lemur, but we're like cousins. You feel me?
The game barely got marketed. Conversation among players was dead silent, and then by the time it
I was gonna say the graphics look pretty decent, pretty cool, but then I'm like, what the hell's up with his face?
launched, it felt like nobody actually even cared about it.
Bro, you got like moss or something. You got like grass or something on your face.
I was still
Clean it up.
interested. I've enjoyed Grounded, and I loved New Vegas, and while I haven't played Pillars of Eternity, I was
What the
excited
hell is that thing?
to see
Dude,
what
it's
Obsidian
Beast
could
from the
do
X-Men.
with a first-person fantasy RPG. I wasn't expecting Skyrim, but I was expecting something that would at least try to stand alongside it. But as time passed, my optimism faded. The warning signs were all there. Xbox barely promoted the game. The general audience showed no real excitement, and it was set to launch in the same month as Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 and Monster Hunter Wilds. From my perspective, that looks like you're trying to hide.
Oh, dude. If it wasn't for Path of Exile, I would be so trying hard right now to get all my friends onto Monster Hunter. I'm so excited for the new one. It looks cool. I've been on and off on Monster Hunter for a while now, and I've never really gotten in on the game when it drops and sort of played it with the community as it went through. You get me? But right now, as far as me and all my chums, my pals, we've just been going crazy on Path of Exile, so I can't even like begin to try to convince them to start on something else.
Hide the game, and it looks like that's exactly what
They can't,
happened
like,
because
they-
Avowed's
plus,
$90.
It's like a type of deal. It's like where it's like, yeah, I might be doing something like I pay for the monthly Game Pass, and here and there I'll get a game, right, if I can. But that's because I'm doing this as a streaming thing. But if as far as like my friends, family, buddy, like they can't be buying all these games. You get me? Like it's not. There's got to be a decision made.
Early access period peaked at just 13,000 players on Steam. With a full launch hit, that number barely crawled to 17,000 players. The immediate excuses I'm seeing are, but it's on Game Pass, as if that somehow invalidates the reality of what we're seeing. Steam's concurrent player count doesn't tell the whole story, true, but it does.
Yeah, I gotta be completely honest with you. The Game Pass, basically, there is very, like, at least from other games that we've seen in the past, there was pretty much very little noticeable difference in, like, Steam sales or Steam, like player count by comparison to, like, the Xbox.
does indicate a trend, and if a
Like, when
game is
the
a massive hit
Pass
on
became
Game
a thing, I
Pass,
should say.
well, it's going to be an even bigger success on Steam. We've already seen plenty of games launch both on Steam and Game Pass while
Call
pulling
of Duty was
huge
one of
numbers.
those.
Pal World had 15 million copies sold.
True as well, and not only that, I think they even had a free demo on Game Pass too.
And 10 million players on Game Pass. Over 2 million concurrent players on Steam. Stalker 2...
Same. I'm playing Stalker 2 on Game Pass for free. I have not paid for that game. At least not to not the original price, right?
100,000 concurrent players on Steam, despite also launching on
played it.
Game Pass. Starfield, over 300 concurrent players.
Absolutely. Played the game, never beat it, but I played a lot of hours into that game. I'm actually thinking about going back and beating it now that it's been patched and stuff. I think it'd be pretty freaking funny.
On Steam, even with day one Game Pass availability.
Well,
If
no,
the game
it's
is truly
totally a bug or
successful,
glitch,
it's
but I think
successful
it'll be funny to go
everywhere.
back
And
after
right
all this
now,
time and
Avowed
see
is not doing
if they ever
well.
fix
That's
it.
obvious to me, to most players that are paying attention, and to anyone that's looking at the numbers without blinders on, but that's not the narrative that games journalists are pushing right now. Instead, they're trying to manufacture success with articles like, Avowed is already a big hit on Steam, celebrating a measly 17,000 concurrent players on Steam as if that's something to brag about. Avowed tops bestsellers list on Steam despite backlash, pretending that the chart placement somehow means anything despite the fact that the competition that's on there are weeks-old releases and games that aren't even out yet. Avowed hits impressive Steam chart milestone before its release, hyping up...
Yeah, this is what I was talking about. Everyone kept saying all this, but then you go and look at it, and it's like, it's so disingenuous. That doesn't mean anything.
A meaningless number that's outweighed by a complete lack of long-term engagement. I'm so tired of seeing all this media spin. You're not my GameStop rep trying to sell me a game. You're media outlets that are supposed to be covering industry news. It's the same pathetic gaslighting.
And that's the thing, yeah. I've had a lot of people like complaining at me about why I care about people like reviewers and stuff. And it's like, why the hell don't you? Like, if I see a reviewer, like or rather I should say, like, before I got the Game Pass and before I started streaming on here, I'd buy like 1, 2, 3 games a year. You get me? Unless I was going for indie games, I could only buy a certain amount of games per year. They cost a lot of $60 is a lot of freaking money, dude. That is $60. You know how much $60 is? That is 60% out of $100. Round that up, it's basically $100 with the taxes, and plus you gotta drive into the store to buy the game. There's there's gas involved. You know what I'm saying? And if you want a physical copy, there's shipping if you ordering. You know what I'm saying? So it might as well just be the 100 at that point. I gotta buy a Red Bull when I go out and get it. So it's like point being, there's very limited amount of games I can buy. So when I have somebody reviewing a game or telling me about a game, I need this motherfucker to be honest. I need him to tell me what I need to know. I don't care about your personal opinion on the politics of the creators of the game and what they want to push with the game. I need to know if this game is going to be good and entertaining and is going to be able to keep me busy and playing long enough for me to earn up enough money within my paychecks to be able to buy the next game when I get bored of this one. You feel me? But it's like, but now in 2025, things have changed. You feel me? Because right now, I may have paid early access for Path of Exile 2, but in general, the game is going to be free to play. We got Girls Frontline Equilibrium 2, whatever the frick. That's like an XCOM waifu game. If you want to beat 'em up, a fighter type of game, you got Zelda Zone Zero. If you want a turn-based strategy game, you have Honkai Star Rail. You want something that's more an open-world slasher, hack and slash, then you got Wuwa. You get me? Like, we are in a different, we are moving into a different era of video gaming, and if these developers don't get their shits together, and if these reviewers don't start speaking more honestly and making themselves more useful, then people are going to start moving on to something that's actually more useful. For example, rather than watching your review, they're going to start freaking watching Tectone, who's actually reviewing the games that people like to play. You get me? You're going to basically, you're going to remove yourself from the economy, so to speak, where people no longer even, need your opinion, because your opinion, effectively, is worthless. It's valueless. because you never add anything. You literally only you only lie or push whatever your specific agenda is. So I whenever I go to go to you for anything, I know that there's no reason to go for you for anything honest. I go to you for if I want to know more about people on your side.
We saw with Dragon Age the Veilguard, a game that was supposed to have topped the Steam charts and was declared a strong seller despite completely failing to gain any traction with players. Ultimately, even EA acknowledged that it was a failure. But let's be real, Avowed's failure isn't just about the weak sales numbers, it's about how this game got here in the first place. Xbox's marketing for Avowed was non-existent. It felt like it just got dumped onto the market with no fanfare.
Wait, so the game? You got like a book and a wand?
Build up and no attempt to get the players excited or involved. If you haven't followed the news closely...
Can I ask why the hell this is in such a low resolution?
Then you barely even know that about
footage. I had it at 720p, now it's at 1080p.
It was coming out, but what makes matters even worse...
What about the higher bitrate? Oh, you can suck a butt.
This is the only real marketing that this game has got over the last year. Well, it came from the art director torpedoing the game. Instead of trying to build hype for Avowed, the art director Matt Henson took to Blue Sky to rant about Elon marketing that this game has got over the last year. Well, it came from the art director torpedoing the game. Instead of trying to build
torpedoing the game. I did not hear the tor part.
Hype for Avowed, the art director Matt Henson took to Blue Sky to rant about Elon Musk and identity politics in video games. And not only did he make it about himself, he dragged Avowed into it, turning it into a political talking point instead of an exciting. Henson took to Blue Sky to rant about...
Elon Musk said having pronouns in a fantasy video game is utterly unacceptable. I think it's totally fine to have them in there. I just feel like it's just utterly like pointless. Because I'm just not concerned. I feel like in Fallout games, like you're just able to build your character, nobody cares. But like I can see like it just doesn't matter. It's a non-issue. It doesn't matter. I wouldn't say having pronouns is unacceptable. I would just say it's a non-issue, and frankly, you should, like, if your game is garbage, I don't know why the hell you're concerned about the pronouns in it when you got way more problems. You get me? So it's not that it's unacceptable. It's just a non-issue when your game sucks. Sickles.jpg. I wanted so badly to make him mad with my game, and I cannot believe it actually happened. Just wait until you see the default. You said little shit. Huh? Then Grum said, I'm drawing a line. I'm rejecting any game that has pronouns in it, and your grammar nazies know what I mean. Stop being stupid. Then he said, what? Anyway, Avowed comes out February 18 next year. Give it a whirl if you ain't afeared of the woke my mind virus. Bro, you suck at English.
About Elon Musk and identity politics in video games. And not only did he make it about himself, he dragged Avowed into it, turning it into a political talking point instead of an exciting RPG.
I just hope he didn't write the freaking subtitles for the game.
The first time in months that people were even talking about Avowed, and it was actually because the developer hijacked it for his own personal agenda. I've talked about this before, but this is a growing problem in the industry. Developers don't seem to understand.
Oh yeah, because see, the issue is not that this makes the game bad, really. It's just that when you see that the director is kind of a psycho, or a little bit of a we're gonna say nice here. When you see that the developer is a little bit of a politics psycho, you start to get concerned about whether the game might be reflecting some of his personal philosophy, so to speak, or might try to like.
And what they say impacts their games. We live in a world where half the audience is terminally online, and alienating a portion of that audience can completely derail any momentum a game has. This is a leadership issue. You have your key creatives out there, and they feel comfortable using your game as a soapbox for their personal beliefs. This is telling me two things. You have no control over your employees, and you do not care how players perceive your game. When the only notable thing about your game before launch is controversy, you're setting yourself up for failure. The uncomfortable truth that no one in the media wants to talk about or say out loud is that Obsidian and Xbox set themselves up for failure. not only just allowing one of their developers to hijack their product for personal reasons, but also for a failure to manage expectations and genuinely trying to connect with their audience. This isn't just marketing and management incompetence, it's a complete breakdown of studio leadership. Now they're paying the price for it. But if you guys really want to know why Avowed isn't selling, let me go ahead and play you guys the game's first trailer.
We have
Careful now, YouTube might take me down.
always known war.
Dude, and it's Obsidian Entertainment too. That's wild to think about. I didn't even know until this video that it was Obsidian Entertainment. Man. They said this is their answer to after Skyrim? Didn't they make Fallout New Vegas? I freaking love Fallout New Vegas. We should play Fallout New Vegas. Bro, how is that straight up not just the Inquisition flag from Dragon Age Inquisition? That is straight up just the freaking the Inquisition logo from Dragon Age Inquisition. It's got the eyeball. It's meant to look like a crown, but it's got like the eyeball circle around the cross or the sword or whatever.
It forged our empire. Turned heroes into queens and kings.
Yeah, bro, how freaking far did you fire that arrow?
And decimated our foes.
Hey, how kind of explosives you put in that arrow?
Now our oaths are lost.
Did
Forsaken.
it go through the ground? Oh, you suck, you missed.
And you must face the monsters our sins have borne. Is an oath worth the weight of a crown?
I like the cool hand symbol things. It reminded me of that the Japanese Ghost video game. That one was cool.
We were teased a dark, broody, gritty world, a narrator weaving a tale of conflict and high-stakes adventure. Yet years later,
it seems like a war. It seems like the war in Mordor.
And revealed that the game's actual art direction and story didn't really line up with players' expectations. Instead of a mature, grounded fantasy RPG setting like people had imagined, we got yet another pink, purple, neon-soaked game using a soft modern art aesthetic that has infected so many games today. Instead of immersive, distinct character designs, we got the same androgynous feature muted.
Yeah, she looks like something straight out of one of those fashion shows or like the costume. You ever seen like the costume TV show where they have like the virtual effects, the VFX artists, like create monsters? It's freaking cool. She looks sick.
Male and female characters that
I
we just
don't
keep
like
seeing
Stitch over
audiences reject. Who's lining up for that? Who's getting excited for that? Nobody. And I would bet good money that Dragon Age the Veilguard's disastrous reception probably led a lot of players to be a lot more cautious of Avowed because of how similar these games looked. You know, I hear game developers and journalists whining that players need to respect creative freedom and expression, but where the hell is that creative freedom when all of these games are starting to look the same? Now, of course, developers can change their art direction. I'm not saying that they can't. That's not the issue here. The issue is the radio silence for 3
Ugh, what attack is she using? It looks so spongy.
years, followed by a bait and switch reveal that left players confused and disinterested. At that point, people just tuned out. You can't do that, especially not today. And this isn't just an Avowed problem. This is an industry-wide problem. Developers need to engage with their audience. They need to see how players are responding. They need critical feedback early, not just validation from industry insiders and co-workers, especially when they're taking radical shifts in art direction, tone, and atmosphere. Larian Studios' publishing director made a really great point about this. While they didn't mention Avowed specifically, let's be honest, they're talking about Avowed, or at least Dragon Age the Veilguard. But he said, "You can't wait to see if a game resonates with players. It's insane. Why wait and see? It's a strategic play. Build resonance before launch. Set expectations, under-promise, over-deliver. The latter may sound crazy, but it's far less crazy than saying something didn't resonate."
See, the thing is, you overpromise and underdeliver constantly. You're not doing what you're saying. That trailer promised a lot, and what I'm seeing gameplay-wise, you did not deliver.
In a financial report, like that's a surprise. It shouldn't be a surprise. It should be a process. And this is exactly what Xbox and Obsidian didn't do. Developers need to be direct with their vision, be transparent. Imagine how different their
Yeah, you know, it is funny though, because like there are a lot of people that like will make up these freaking like intricate, like elaborate like reasons for why it's like okay that developers suck at making video games, when it's just like no. Like, it's not that complicated. Like, if you make a shitty video game, I'm not gonna buy it, nobody's gonna buy it, and then, therefore, you're going to struggle, because your product sucks. So, either, like, and that's nobody's problem except for yours. So, whoever the hell is in charge, or I should say, whoever cares about the company succeeding, whoever that happens to be, whether, because sometimes it's not even the CEO, sometimes not even the whatever, whoever the hell in that company that actually cares about the company succeeding, should actually make, look at what the issues are and make a decision that's going to actually lead towards success, instead of just doing the exact same thing over and over again and just sort of letting it die on its like a slow.
The reception would have been if Obsidian had communicated these changes earlier, when player feedback actually could have meant something. Instead, they just dropped a trailer that players immediately rejected, downvoted, and yelled at, and then they launched a game to an audience that didn't even want it. Look at the difference in viewership from the initial teaser trailer, 1.8 million views, to the actual launch trailer of 99,000 views. What does that tell you? You know, on top of that,
only 4K lights too.
Imagine how different things would have been if Xbox and Obsidian had held their developers accountable, if they had fired.
Like I know it's not a direct one-to-one comparison. I'm just saying, very seemingly it's like where are all the where the hell is the modern audience to come and like bomb the video and make it like hype it up and make it go crazy?
Matt Hansen and disavowed his use of the game as a weapon.
I gotta admit, I like the fish nipples. I like this man's like boobs. This man's like fish boobs. That's hot. That's cool. I like the fish boobs. We'll keep the fish boobs going. I like the whale's necklace too. That's nice as well. The head, I don't know what the hell. I think he just like wrapped around something, a scar. I don't know what that is. I feel like somebody could just walk up to you, grab that, and choke you to death. So that's stupid. Like, you an idiot. Take that off. You look foolish. But keep the boobs out.
Been in a culture war. Instead of letting a key developer drag about into controversy, they had made a clear message that their focus was on the game, not politics. Think about how many players would have rallied behind the game out of respect. How can they not see these easy layups here? You need transparency and you need respect to build.
By the way, in the trailer, they don't think it had a sword and spells. Here, they got a wand and a book.
With your audience.
Can you get that?
Xbox and Obsidian had neither. I don't understand how these companies think that they can continue to be successful while excluding their audience and remaining silent. Or worse, mocking them and alienating them. The games that resonate, that build a dedicated player base, are the ones that developers are actually engaging with their fans, setting clear expectations, and delivering on their promises. But Obsidian, Xbox, they did none of that. They refused to listen, they refused to market, they refused to control their own people, and now they're learning the hard way that if you ignore your audience, well, your audience is going to ignore you. This might sound like it's coming out of left field, but I think that game developers need to disconnect from politics. And some people are going to agree with me.
Yes! Yes and no. They need to disconnect their job, their work, from politics. It's fine if you want to go on freaking Twitter and talk all the smack you want in the world, but when you're at work, when you're making a product that you intend to sell, and again, you don't have to listen to me. This is not a rule. You only need to follow this realistically if you want people to buy the game. When you make a game that's a product intended to provide escapism, don't bring in real-life issues, drama, and politics into it. There are ways to bring a political message into the game, but the game is not a political message. Like, it's not a tool for political messaging. It's a tool for entertainment. And in that entertainment, we can see a reflection of the real world and infer a message from that. For example, we can infer many messages from games like Fallout New Vegas about humanity and how even in a post-apocalyptic world, money is still king, and places like Vegas, gambling, taking advantage of people's addiction to gambling, is always going to be intrinsically a predatory instinct that humans will take advantage of and exploit even in a world where literally social norms have been utterly destroyed and had to be rebuilt from the ground up. Somehow we freaking created Las Vegas all over again. That's a cool little political messaging to discuss about the law, the nature of sort of human, I don't know, freaking greed. They drop a lot of messaging about how the NCR, the New California Republic, is like basically so steeped in bureaucracy that when you join them, the only way you're able to even help them is by literally bypassing all their bureaucracy. You get me? And it's like great messaging without that being the central focus of the game. The central focus of the game is basically a revenge plot for somebody who tried to off you. That's it. It's like, you get me? So it's like there's ways to bring politics, or there's ways to bring messaging, and sort of like in a very thoughtful, or I should say thought-provoking and clever way.
Being be like, yeah, I don't want to hear their opinion. And I get where you're coming from, but what I'm actually saying is that, like, in general, it's just not good for people. Whatever your political leaning is. Look at the news cycle given any channel. It's constantly, you're doomed, we're doomed, we're doomed, we're doomed, we're back, we're doomed, we're back. You're going to be spiraling all of the time if you're constantly dialed into that stuff. That's not healthy. And eventually you're going to feel like the walls are closing in on you, like the world is on fire. And in some cases, the world is on fire, but what the fuck are you going to do?
Well, yeah, hi, Californian here. What's up?
About it. You make video games. So then you start putting it into your video games, your opinions, or your beliefs, or the things that you're afraid of, or what you're trying to fight against. And since this industry has a lot of people that share the same opinions, well, all of a sudden, all these...
And wow, isn't that just true, though? All of this that you're doing, all this effort, all the games that have been changed and affected, and blah, 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 and you've accomplished nothing. It was all freaking pointless.
Games start looking the same, playing the same, sounding the same. They're destroying the relationships with their studios. They're destroying the relationships with their audience. It's just not good for the industry. At least that's my perspective. You're welcome to disagree, but I think it's something that these studios need to rout out. Well, I think
honestly, I feel like if anything, they've actually made more enemies. They've been the largest proponents for their opposition.
Controversy had an effect on the game's
Am I using
reception.
The correct
I think
way?
more than anything, it's just the tonal shift and the art change from the first trailer to what the game actually became. Because players came and they were like, oh, you know, I went to the butcher and all they were selling was Wonder Meat. It's just not what players were expecting. It's not what they're excited for. It's not what they're asking for. And I think it's time to realize that Obsidian is not the studio that you think they are. Most people are basing their opinions on Obsidian.
It's kind of like someone who advocates for something. Okay.
Off of New
I think I
Vegas
used it right.
or Pillars of Eternity. It's been 7 years since Pillars of Eternity 2. It's been 15 years since Fallout New Vegas. Things have changed. Look at their last few games. They're competent, but they're forgettable. Outer Worlds, it had style, but the writing was bad. The world felt static. The RPG mechanics weren't all that good.
Oh yeah, they made Outer Worlds. I had a lot of fun. Really good game. Really, really, really good game. Very heavy-handed with the political messaging, but the anti-capitalist messaging, I would say, or like the anti-business, corporation, bureaucracy. But they did it in such a fun, wacky, and let's not take it so serious kind of way that I genuinely enjoyed every second of it. I never felt like that game really pushed their views on me too harshly. And frankly, I think it was like all said in good fun. In good fun. Definitely, I kind of went into it with the mentality of this is the first time they made a Outer Worlds game. So of course it was gonna have some bugs, it was gonna have some issues, it was gonna have some quirks. And overall though, I freaking enjoyed it, loved the heck out of it. I think I did like 2 or maybe 3 full playthroughs of the game.
Grounded was a fine game. Pentiment
really
was
game,
a
actually
thing.
I am excited for the sequel.
But that's the thing. They aren't failing to live up to their expectations. I think that, they're not failing to live up to their potential. This is their potential. I think that's what this is.
It is. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that if you actually pay a lot of attention, a lot of the original developers and team members that originally worked on games like Fallout, New Vegas, The Outer Worlds, Pillars of Eternity, was it Skyrim or was it Oblivion? Whatever. The point being, like, a lot of these developers the actual person, the actual individuals, developers that used to work on these development teams have all but been fired, pushed away, or basically went off to other companies to make their own game. And I feel like this is a prime example of what I was talking about earlier, where we should be looking at reviewers with more regards and more like a monocle, a binocular, so to speak. I think similarly, we need to stop looking at the developers or the publishers. For example, I do not consider myself a Konami fan. I consider myself a Hideo Kojima fan. And any project that Hideo Kojima is, involved in, I tend to look at with very interested eyes. You get what I'm saying? In the same essence, we should be doing the exact same thing with other developers. Instead of looking at the development team, or the developer as an entity or a company, or the producers as a company, we should be looking at the individual creators of said game and following those developers as individuals instead. I think it's honestly, I feel like that's where most of the industry is going to start pushing towards, and it's going to be spearheaded by the fact that a lot of these reviewers and a lot of these companies are basically showing that we cannot trust these entities to give us actual genuine content or a product that we actually ask or want. You get me? No, they're gonna try to shovel whatever they want to give us to our face. And that's why I feel like people are gonna start going more to the individual rather to the actual whole entity.
They're not aiming to be the studio that made New Vegas or try to make better than New Vegas. They're not chasing innovation or excellence. They're chasing okay. So if they've lowered their standards that much,
they want to meet the bare minimum requirements, I feel like, to consider it a viable game, and then that way they can focus on the political messaging and adding whatever they want society to be in their image, and they can sort of push that instead. And it feels like they focus more on that than the actual game experience itself. And that's the issue. If you focus more on the game experience itself, and then added whatever, you want to freaking add, as long as the base game itself is freaking rock solid, I feel like you would have a lot more success.
Why should the players have any higher of expectations? We shouldn't. And they don't want us to. Now, initially, I thought that Avowed was underperforming for the quality it delivers. I've played the game for around 15 hours.
Am I the only one who thinks it's lazy to basically just take human, change the skin color to blue, gold, green, yellow, some other form, maybe give them a spiky ear, and then just call it a day? And then they put the freaking face paint on. They're like, yeah, this is just how the people look. They got face paint. They did the same thing with I forgot the name of the race, but Ahsoka. They basically did that. Their hair is painted from birth. That's totally a freaking alien. It's like, no, it's not. It's just a human with weird hair. Stop. Ahsoka's just a weird human with weird hair. No. Do better.
And there were a lot of things that I genuinely liked. I think spellcasting
Mass Effect.
feels
You want
really
to talk
good.
about a game that took aliens and fantasy? Well, not fantasy, right? But alien creatures, and was like, look at this shit. This is some Mass Effect freaking took some aliens and said, nah, we're gonna get weird with the biology here.
The combat in general feels really good, which is pretty rare for a first-person RPG. The world is dense rather than expansive, which I actually appreciate. Exploration has its moments, and performance on day one is pretty solid. On paper, this should be a pretty decent RPG, but the longer you actually play it, the more the game just feels lifeless. Like, the world might be dense, but it's not reactive. It's Dragon Age the Veilguard in first person. Exploration is not rewarding. The environments feel static, and you quickly realize that every area just boils down to the same bandits, skeletons, bears, and lizards. After a few hours, you just feel stuck in place. There's no real variety, no sense of discovery, just a repetitive loop of looting upgrade materials, collecting coins, and reading dull notebook entries. Let's be honest, nobody's playing.
And this can work, though. I have to say, this can absolutely work, but the gameplay loop needs to be varied, and it needs to be fun.
Playing an Obsidian game for the combat. People are coming for the writing, the characters, and the...
Give me a sec. I'll let him keep talking while I think of the name of the game.
depth. Pillars of Eternity, the very foundation of this world, was built on that. But Avowed, there's just nothing. No urgency.
There we go. Freaking Hogwarts Legacy. The Harry Potter. I didn't want to just call it Harry Potter. Hogwarts Legacy actually had a pretty good system for, like, You were taking the exact same bandits, but sort of like throwing in these sort of like key characters that not only would, not characters, right, but these key enemies that not only would they themselves be unique enemies that you would have to deal with in unique and special ways, but they would also boost or give additional effects to the enemies in their group, so the challenge as a whole is way different. You can't just run in and start taking out the little guys and then worry about the big guy like in every other engagement. You actually have to look at, okay, this is a unique enemy, and the effect that he's giving to his allies is this. You really got to think about it and like plan differently, use a different skill, use a different element, use it. It was a really, really good freaking mechanic in the game, honestly.
No emotion, no tension. You crash land on a hostile island with only one other survivor, and you're both acting like it's just another Tuesday. The world is dangerous, but nobody seems to care. I knew I was in trouble when 3 hours in, I was already starting to skip dialogue. Modern RPGs have this obsession with exposition dumping, constantly bombarding the player with highlighted phrases that they don't understand, giving zero
Yeah, again, it's the show don't tell. Everybody is trying to write a freaking Tolkien novel in a paragraph, and it's like, it doesn't freaking work that way. If you want to build a world, you're gonna have to do it one brick at a time. You can't just freaking throw a house at me and say, here, accept this house. This is how it works. This is just it. This is where you live now. It's like, no. Screw you. Like, show me around. Take me on a tour. Like, where's the bathroom? You can't just throw me in this apartment like this.
Context, and then piling more exposition on top of that.
Put some cheese out on the dinner table.
When I found myself fixating on the characters and the story, I had realized that Avowed is suffering from the same problem that Starfield did. A better RPG launched within the same window, and I just can't accept mediocrity anymore. If you go to play Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, and then you
that's not even it! Stupid! That's not even Disavowed! It's freaking Kingdom Come!
Avowed, the difference is...
Dude, for a second there, I'm like, okay, you get to dance with the ladies, and how you doing, maiden? And then I freaking roasted, not even the right game.
In Kingdom Come 2, characters react to you. If you get drunk, Henry is slurring his words, wobbling about. He can barely hold himself together in dialogue scenes. If you commit...
The thing is, some of these things were in the first game, too. Please go play the first game. I would be, because this game is out now, the second game, I'm so down to go back and buy the first game and play through all of that. And then we can jump into the second game once that goes on sale.
Crimes, townspeople...
Both good and bad, that game is doing really well, so it's probably not going to go out on sale for a while. Luckily, the first game has hella content.
People remember you, guards hunt you down, and the world shifts to your actions. If I pick a lock, I actually pick a lock. If I steal, there are consequences. If I murder an NPC, I'll hang for it. Then I go back to Avowed.
I think at one time, when I was playing the first game, I went into the woods near one of the castles, one of the towers, and took down like a deer, or took down some kind of animal because I needed food. And I was desperately in need of money to get like armor and weapons. So I went to like see if I can get some hides and stuff. And then because I did it too close to like the castle. Some random person like that just happened to be walking by was like, hey, like, you can't hunt here. Like, these lands belong to the Lord. And I was like, freaking fight me. What the frick you gonna do about it? So he ran away like a coward. And then suddenly, like, a little bit later on, I get a bounty and the guards come after me like, no, you poaching? I'm like, nah, who said that? Nonsense. Bro, I freaking had to reload a save and murder that dude. No witnesses.
And none of that exists. The game just feels dead. Hell, NPCs don't even move around town. They just stand in place. Enemies don't free roam. They stay in static positions. It's just a world in stasis. Gabe Newell had a really good quote in a documentary where he said, if I go up to a wall and shoot it, it feels like it's ignoring me. I'm getting a narcissistic injury when the world is ignoring me. And that's exactly how Avowed feels. It's a game that does
100%. Think about how much people talked about the way you were treated by the other characters in Mass Effect 2 and in Mass Effect 3 is one of the highlights of those games, is that how your actions in the first games and subsequent games after that really affected the world and really made you feel like you imprinted or had an impact on the world. for example, I had let the Arachnid Queen in the Mass Effect 1 sort of like live and allowed her to like go seek out another planet with her children. So later on, when we were being attacked, I was actually able to recruit those spider aliens, the Arachnid aliens, to join our efforts in building these like basically an army and fighting against the Geth. So it was freaking sick. I loved it. And like that was
Doesn't
the third
respond
game.
to you. It ignores you. Now, I don't need
Something, a
every
decision I
RPG
made in
to
the
be Kingdom
first
Come
game.
Deliverance 2 or Baldur's Gate 3. I don't think I need that level of reactivity every single time. But when you're charging $90 for early access and $70 for full release, I would at least
I
expect...
like the beetle enemies. Those are freaking cool. An elder, a Jar Rip elder. That's
You're
like
trying to reach
that's like
for
a lizard
it.
person.
Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, Warhorse Studios, the people that made that game have less funding and less...
Yeah, this is Obsidian though. I feel like think about it. Fallout. You know, like it had like Fallout. New Vegas had hella enemy types, like an absurd amount of enemy types. Even the geckos had like, you know, you had the blue geckos, which are pretty base standard. You had the yellow geckos, which are tougher. You had the red geckos, which were able to breathe fire. Like, you know, they even added a bit of
Tell me
variety
how
to
it's
those,
unfair
too.
to compare these two things when Obsidian should be the one that's the unfair comparison to make against
And,
Warhorse.
like, they
The
lived
whole
in
game
different,
feels
like,
front-loaded, like a rush
different like environments, different climates. So you would have, it would be in different, like, you know, you wouldn't be
essay
able
where
to
the
find them in
first
same
few
spots.
paragraphs get the most effort, but the rest is just filler. Kai,
It felt like
the
an actual
one
world.
character that you get at the very beginning, he's a pretty solid character, but it's obvious
guy
that he
looks
was the
cool,
one
but
that
the
was
guy with
written first.
sundresses, I like
Everyone else,
sundresses.
forgettable. The deeper you go, the more Obsidian just ran out of steam. But come to find out, they didn't run out of steam. This is what they wanted to deliver because they want acceptable work, not exceptional work. And that's how they plan to make their studio last for 100 years, apparently. In an article written by PC Gamer titled, "Obsidian won't chase huge profits or grow aggressively. That's how it's going to last 100 years in the RPG business. Are we serious? Yes."
Wow. I'm sorry. It's just as some I've just like never like, huh? I've never seen a business. As someone who's been a manager, who's tried to open up his own businesses, somebody who's actively trying to make this YouTube thing a business, I've never seen a business come out and proudly be like, I don't expect to make huge profit. I plan on failure. I do not plan on huge success. I plan on barely getting by, barely doing anything. I plan on just basically scraping by the bottom of the barrel. I plan on not expanding. I plan on not doing good. And I'm probably gonna do that for the next 100 years. Dude, talk about like setting your expectations low. Right? Like, bro really said, we are not ever going to be good. So we're just going to be okay with being mid. And they say it proudly, damn.
Tyler Wilde writes, Obsidian's 100-year plan isn't, and I hope this isn't disappointing, a decade-by-decade breakdown of future projects that ends somewhere around Fallout Old Vegas. I'm assuming pre-apocalyptic settings are popular in 2103. It's more of a thought exercise, but Morgan and Burt said that they genuinely want Obsidian to continue beyond their lifespans. Are we serious?
I'm gonna be honest with you. If your plan is to never succeed, and to never expand, and to never make huge profits, I'm getting a strong feeling the company is going to go bankrupt within your lifetime, as opposed to live on beyond your lifetime.
Yes, and Morgan said, why not? Nintendo was founded in 1889. One of the pillars of the plan is staying lean and invested, meaning...
Wow, bro really thinks he's Nintendo. Because as we all know, Nintendo's 100-year-long plan has always been to be mid. Nintendo never wanted to be huge. Nintendo always made sure they never got too large or made too much profit or became huge. They wanted to make sure they were always mid, and they like being mid.
being small enough that none of Obsidian's employees feel like a cog in the machine. Morgan and Birch said in recent years they had considered opening multiple international studios, but they decided to partner with existing studios rather than weakening Obsidian's culture by getting too big. Linus can also refer.
I'm gonna tell y'all right now, okay? There are two, let's say I'm ever able to successfully make this thing a thing. Make this whole shebang work and do what it's supposed to do. And I'm able to get the right people in the right positions, and I had the monies for it. Like, I feel like I could genuinely create a studio, an indie studio, with a very, very small team of very, very passionate creators with a very fair but low budget that focuses on maximum entertainment value and fun without stressing superficial aspects of gaming. A great example right now would be like Half Sword. Actually, please go try out Half Sword. Good lord, that is amazing. And I think that keeping actually paying the developer, the small team of developers what they're actually worth, so that they actually have passion and they actually have a want to make the game succeed. You get me? And I think genuinely that would be a much better road to success than planning to be mildly successful. How the hell is that actual plan? If I was an investor, I would be terrified of this. I would sell all my stock out of this. You plan on being mildly successful for the next 100 years. That, as somebody who personally owns stock, this does not make me want to keep stock or buy stock in Obsidian. You get what I'm saying? Just wow. Also, I want to make a VTuber agency that's a lot more personalized. That has nothing to do with anything. I mentioned two things earlier. Another one is the VTuber agency that's a lot more personal and like a lot more face to face. Like less bureaucracy. There should not be a whole lot of people involved between the talent and the, let's say, CEOs of an agency. I really feel like there should be 1, 2 at max persons between the very top of the agency and the talent. And I feel like even two people disconnected is already way too much. These are small things that I think about a lot. You know, when you like to fantasize about the future. Anyway, moving on.
Refer to Obsidian's games. It doesn't aim for unprecedented scale or the most advanced graphics, and before greenlighting a game, Birch and the studio spent a lot of time determining how much to invest on a project with the assumption that it will be a mild success, not a smash hit. Now, I'll be honest, on the surface, this sounds like a smart, sustainable approach. It's actually what I've been asking a lot of these studios to do. Stay lean, keep expectations in check, and not sink into the same trap as other studios that are overextending themselves with bloated budgets and impossible sales targets. In an industry where companies are collapsing left and right, Obsidian's strategy makes sense. But then you get to the part where they assume that every game will be a mild success, and that's where everything starts to click into place. This is why Avowed feels so...
now we're starting to see a little bit different gameplay. I like this. I like the swords. I like the sword. All right, well, I'm liking the sword. Can I sword and flamethrower at the same time is my question
lifeless
now.
Because it was never designed to be anything more than good enough. The writing, the world, the mechanics all feel like they were built to be serviceable, not groundbreaking, and you can see that pretty much across the game. Obsidian isn't trying to push boundaries. They aren't trying to make the next great RPG. They're trying to make a functional, decent game that checks enough boxes to be playable, enjoyable, and forgettable. But from my perspective, that's not sustainable. Because here's the thing, if you assume that all of your games are just going to be a mild success, well, that's exactly what they're going to be. That's exactly what your developers are going to aim for. This isn't just playing it safe, it's embracing mediocrity as a business model. It's one thing to be realistic about your sales projections and expectations, but when you start baking that mentality into your development process, you create games that aren't trying to be great, they're just trying to exist. I want studios to be realistic about their sales projections, but I don't want that to impact how they actually make games, and I think that's what's going on here. Larian Studios' Sven Vinke talked extensively but making sure how to keep enough money in the tank to be able to make your game, how to budget your games appropriately. But at the exact same time, all he's ever talked about is wanting to make the biggest RPG ever and how Baldur's Gate 3 was a stepping stone to that goal. So maybe this strategy keeps Obsidian alive for now. Maybe it helps them avoid layoffs or corporate disasters that we see happening at bigger studios. But what happens when the industry evolves? What happens when players' expectations rise? And when good enough stops being good enough? We've already seen that happen. Look how Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 made Avowed feel like an afterthought. Look how Baldur's Gate...
I was about to say the exact same thing. You freaking beat me to it. But yes, no, we've reached this point already, and we're seeing the consequences of it across the entire industry. Literally every game that's been coming out, there's been the exact same situation that's been happening with Avowed. Dragon Age Veilguard. I came out and said it early on. I said, I don't like the style. I don't like what I'm seeing. This feels way outside of what a Dragon Age video game has ever felt like before. And frankly, it's the furthest away from Dragon Age Origins as far as atmosphere, vibe, and tone that I've seen any Dragon Age be. And so I said all of this, and just like everywhere else, I was met with nothing but bombardments of criticism and accusations of being an anti-woke and freaking being just a freaking like all this other BS. It doesn't matter. But point being is that like, bro, you gotta understand that I hold no loyalties towards anybody. I think you're like, as far as I'm concerned, these are all salesmen trying to sell me a product. I want to know which one's the good product. Like, you know what I'm saying? And if it's a good product, like, for example, if I go to Costco and I buy the freaking box of biscuits there and it's, like, solid, I'm gonna be talking about those biscuits for a minute. But if I go to Sam's Club and I find the Milk-Bone box at the same price and it comes with double the freaking biscuits in it, of course I'm gonna freaking champion Sam's Club at that point, because who cares about Costco now? They're not giving me the best deal. You get me? Like, that's all I care about. Why y'all gotta bring all this other nonsense into it? I have no idea. At the end of the day, I want when I play Spyro, I wanna be the dragon. I wanna shoot the fire, and I wanna get the eggs, and I wanna do the stuff. I don't really care if Spyro, freaking like, who was it? Who actually was it? The Kanga, the freaking kangaroo. Playing the Spyro this is a game that I played throughout my entire freaking childhood, by the way. Playing the remaster, I realized that Sheila was a woman. I had no clue. I didn't know. What the frick? How was I supposed to assume? So you get me? Like, I never once freaking asked, questioned, or doubt about this. Sheila was a badass kangaroo that was kicking rhinoceros butt. And that's all I thought about.
Gate 3 made Starfield look obsolete. The bar is rising.
You're thinking about the wrong things. And you're going to slowly but surely get left behind by people who actually think about the correct things that people care about. They're gonna buy that.
Studios that aren't reaching for it at the very least are gonna get left behind. Nobody builds a legacy on mild success. Managing expectations is important, but there's a fine line between smart budgeting and outright surrendering to mediocrity.
Plus, you kind of don't want to, like, I feel like we're also forgetting, you don't want to say your plan is mediocrity when you're kind of relying on people to invest in your stocks still.
So focused on avoiding failure that you never take any risks, you never push yourself, you never aim for greatness, then what's the point? And beyond that, how does Xbox feel about mild success? Because let's be real, Obsidian doesn't really have the final say here. Arcane Austin dropped one single flop and now they're gone. Hi-Fi Rush had mild success and Tango Gameworks got wiped off the map. Did Microsoft really acquire Obsidian just for them to be comfortably average? Of course they didn't. How do you think Microsoft shareholders will respond to mild success when it turns into consistently underwhelming results? Because here's the reality.
It's literally just history repeating itself. And I don't see how many times it needs to happen. But they're literally just becoming EA. Just substitute microtransactions and greedy money, predatory money practices, and substitute it with politics and overreach in your personal freaking morality, I guess. That's only a difference. They came in, they saw that these studios are doing good, bought them out, got rid of all the people that got in the way of them doing whatever they want to do with the freaking company, created a barely passable game chocked full of the stuff they wanted to put in it. And then they just sort of pooped it out to the world and said, there you go, you like this franchise, don't you? And everyone's like, the hell we do? Nah.
Reality. Mild success isn't stability. It's a slow death march towards
I'm looking
irrelevance.
at you, Death Space
I realize
3.
I'm going to have some detractors because some people really like the game. And do you know what? That's great. By the way, this isn't a video smearing.
We're playing it on Monday. As long as I can swing my sword, or axe, would be even better with an axe. As long as I can swing my sword and shoot flamethrowers out of my hand at the same time, you and I are not going to have any problems, Disavowed.
The game. This is just a video that is saying, hey, there's obviously a problem here. We need to discuss this because that's how these studios can stick around longer. I doubt that a lot of people want Obsidian to close. I want Obsidian to stick around, but yeah, let's take
I still want my Fallout New Vegas sequel. But again, I feel like most of the developers for the Fallout New Vegas game, the actual individual developers, have gone on to other companies to make other games.
Let's think about it. Let's have a thought experiment.
And I think we need to start talking about them and what projects they're working on and what projects they're doing more than we're focusing on what the former shells, the shells of their former self are still trying to replicate, basically.
You know that they're based in Irvine, California. They have over 300 developers. I'm going to take a wild guess and say they probably spent $100 million making the game. Maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. I'm probably pretty close, though. We know that they have sold, or at least they've had...
The problem with having these ginormously large teams, too, is that you start to get to the point where the teams are so freaking ginormous that no matter what is wrong with the game, you can't even blame anybody, because there's just so many damn people touching this thing that it's just like, who the hell do you even blame at this point? There's not one person in charge of one freaking thing.
Less than 1/4 of the concurrent players of Dragon Age the Veilguard
and
on
nobody
Steam.
That we can point to say, get rid
Dragon
of
Age
that
the Veilguard
person,
sold 1.5
and we're going to
billion
have an
copies.
efficiency boost.
So we'll take a wild guess and say they're probably right around about 400,000 copies sold. You take out Steam's 30%. Also think about the fact that it's being played on Game Pass. And you're looking at a game that likely made around $20 million. I don't know how much they subsidize for Game Pass or how long they give these games until they need to be profitable, but I'm gonna take a...
I honestly believe that they basically just give, when it comes to Microsoft specifically, I feel like they're following the Netflix mentality, where it's either gonna be a hit or a miss, but whether it is or is not a hit won't matter too much, because it's basically, it's basically just an investment into the overall sort of like resume of Xbox Game Pass, where they can say we have, you know, more, we have originals, or we have all these freaking games. You get me? It's something for them to use as a tagline. So it is a smart investment no matter what. The question comes down to whether Xbox is going to see them as a future games similar to this as a worthwhile investment. You know, I'm sure they're fine with losing a little bit. You know, think about Amazon and how they would they would even reduce their prices down to to the point where they would even losing money on certain products, so long as they beat out their competition.
A wild guess and say that's not going to work. And keep in mind, Outer Wilds did sell 5 million copies, but it took them 4 years to get there. And also at the same time, even though that game was on Game Pass.
That Outer Wilds, did you mean Outer Wilds or Outer Worlds? Are those two different? Outer Worlds, the Outer Worlds is a company one, right? That I like that one. I don't know what the hell Outer Wilds is.
Game Pass wasn't as big then. Xbox hadn't spent $70 billion acquiring Activision Blizzard. Xbox isn't also dealing with the issue that Call of Duty is losing relevance at a wild rate. It is crazy. You guys need to go look at that stuff. I still need to make a video on that.
Very interesting. Myself, Burrito, and Chaos, all basically, I have been the most passionate Call of Duty Zombies player. Burrito has always been the most passionate Call of Duty multiplayer player. He is the king of, out of everyone that we know, this dude, day one, he is there grinding his camos, he is getting gold, he is freaking, bro is a menace when it comes to that. And yet, and myself being somebody who, prides himself on pushing old school zombie Black Ops 2 maps to like round 100 and stuff. Like I freaking like I would pause the game, go to school, come back, and continue my rounds. You get me? Like I was savage with this freaking zombies game, and yet all three of us completely just gave up on it. Path of Exile 2 came out, and we have been nonstop with that, bro. We cannot stop playing that game.
So that's a lot of money they're hemorrhaging over there right now. I just don't see this being.
And honestly, they're basically just turning the damn thing into Fortnite now. It really is just Fortnite. Like no joke. I cannot tell the difference now between Fortnite and Call of Duty in certain trailers and in certain freaking like gameplays now. I'm not even joking. Not even joking.
I don't see this working in the long run. It's going to be too hard for them to justify if they keep costing them money. Because imagine if you're always aiming for mild success and then you miss. That's not good, man. That's not good.
Yeah, you're not going to really have the budget to bounce back after that, are you?
You know, I like hearing studios that are trying to be responsible, that are trying to budget themselves the right way. But I think the problem is that sometimes you can get too caught up in that, and then you're not giving your developers the freedom that they need. I should have brought this up, and I just had it pop into my mind right now. And the director of Obsidian was one of the same people that jumped forward and was talking about how Baldur's Gate 3 is an anomaly, you know, way back when they had that big drama, and how, you know, they don't really have a lot of autonomy because they don't have a lot of choice what they can do with their games because of money. And saying that that's why Baldur's Gate 3 succeeded is because they got to put their money in the right places and stuff like that. Which leads me to...
I don't know. I feel like they're more misguided. It feels to me more like... It feels to me more like the correct response in a situation like this is supposed to be, hey, due to recent events, we're going to reduce the quantity of games while increasing the quality of said games would be the correct response. That way we can save on money by not pushing out as many projects and sort of ensuring that we get the most benefit out of each project as we go. Therefore, there is no one project that does not basically get funded by or funds the next project. You get me? Instead, they seemingly basically said, hey, we're going to reduce the quantity and the quality of the games and the content as well for each game, and hopefully that'll save us some money. It's like, what the frick? What do you mean? Like that's not. It's
they
such
don't
a
really have all that much control over their game or over the
broken way of looking
freedom
at
of
it.
the games that they're making, which would lead to a lot of issues. That's the conclusion that I'm coming to at the very least. But I still believe, you know, the other thing that I brought up is that, you know, studios and their obsessions with politics, especially with some of these folks, especially when it's your artist, it's your art director, that is going to be reflected in your game. And I think that Obsidian is now turning into one of those same studios that is walking down the wrong path, focusing on the wrong things, and not realizing what audiences want today. And you need to recognize that. Otherwise, you're going to lose them. And right now, Obsidian is losing them. Western studios, man, they just can't get their shit together. Anyway, hope you guys.
But again, I feel like what sucks about this is that it really does feel like there's these amazing games being made. Then there are these third, you know, that the communities love, or the gamers love. They love it, they absolutely adore the games. But then there's like these third parties from outside of the communities, outside of the industry, that see the opportunity to push an agenda inside the industry, and so they insert themselves, kick out a lot of the people that genuinely made the industry what it is, and then just sort of like parade the corpses of these people we love to push their agendas. And it's ruining not only the community or the industry, the environment as a whole, but it's also killing off a lot of these games that we freaking love and would love to see sequels to, done properly or done right, that are like, you know, loyal to the first games, or to the source material. And instead, they're just sort of like taking it all over, muddying it up with their own freaking personal spin on it, or their own flavors, and then they freaking like, and then then once it's failed and crashed and burned, they freaking leave and go try to freaking push their agenda on something else. It's like, come on, bro. I freaking like just get out if you're not here to play. If you're not here for escapism and to play the game and to just have freaking fun and then just get the freak out. Because people are sick of it. People are sick of it. It's just not the place for it. We don't care. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about your freaking morals or your politics or your opinions or what you believe the world should be like. We do not care. We just want to shoot the fireballs at the demons and chop the faces of our enemies to save the princess. Shut up. That's all we care about.
Enjoyed the video. Thank you guys for watching. If you guys did enjoy, like the channel, like the video, subscribe to the channel, follow me on Twitch, follow me on Twitter. I ran over there as well. People have been really enjoying the random shit that I talk about on that side. So, you know, you can hear me when I'm not on a video. Outside of that, stay cool, stay righteous, stay safe. Catch you guys in the next one.
Family.
Phenomenal, my dudes. Phenomenal. Family.
Family. Family. Family.
Family. But not me. No,
they keep
my
trying to
dudes, I'm gonna go ahead and drop a link to this video on the Discord. Please be sure to go drop him a like, go drop him a sub. Check out Legendary Drops. He has made some phenomenal content. Thanks for hanging out. Like or dislike, comment, and subscribe. And become a Monodachi today. I live stream all day, Monday through Friday, so go say hi. That's all for now, Monos. Goodbye, and thanks for swinging by. Salut!